Good morning, Mike. I'm
What's up?
Mal. I'm rugged. I'm emotional. How are you?
Doing good. Just trying to get caught back up from having been out of the Nifty world for 2 weeks. It's
Must be
like
nice.
feels like 6 months.
Yeah, I bet.
And it wasn't even
you
2 full weeks, it was 13 days. That's the crazy thing. Gone
did it
13
feel?
days.
Did it feel good
It did feel good. It's good
to
to take a break.
disconnect?
Yeah.
I have two massive personal events coming this year, so I'll be MIA twice. That's why I didn't complain when everyone was like, "Oh, let's tap the brakes over the holiday." Nothing's gonna happen. All
Yeah.
right, so today, I'm back. I'm emotionally better. I was going to do sober January. That didn't work. Cheers. I got rugged today. That was awesome.
That's a tough way to start a day, man.
You know,
Like if
it's
that
a
happens at the end of the day when you're drinking, it's one thing, but
it's a good lesson. Like here's the thing is and you could watch. I went back and rewatched the stream, and like I was like calling out the red flags like as
Mhm.
I was looking at it. I was like, "Oh, that's weird. That's weird. That's weird." And then, your immediate question after that was like, "Well, what did the gas look like?" And like that was the weirdest thing. I kept canceling it like gas can't be this low. And I should have stopped then. And for me personally, like when you think about like our core tenants, right? We tell everyone like make sure you're going and verifying, like quadruple verifying, like check the Discord, check the Twitter, like make sure that like all the links are succinct, because there's multiple vectors that are happening at any given time. But like the FUD, it just caught me for the first time. And like normally, if I miss a project, I don't care. Like it's like okay, like I missed a project. There's going to be 25 more koalas tomorrow. Like we're
Mhm.
fine. But for whatever reason, I was like, okay, hype beast, hate beast, sneaker culture, everything. Like for whatever this morning, I was feeling spry, and I felt like, hey, let's chase it. And then I chased it, and then I refreshed, and I was like, that's weird. The number's not updating. And then I went in and I minted anyway. And
I was there.
yeah, you were encouraging it. I went and rewatched it. I was like, this is Rob's fault.
I was 1 second away from pressing mint, but I was like, I'll wait for Malachi.
Yeah, it's a good lesson. Look, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I'm glad it happened to me and not like someone else, right? Like, that's like it's a reminder, and it's a shitty reminder because like point six ETH is worth a lot less now than it was this morning, but but it it's just a remander that, oh man, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just a reminder that no matter what happens, like like if you're gonna miss a drop, it's okay to miss the drop, buy it on secondary, but like
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
don't compromise. Like
Hmm.
don't get caught in the FOMO, and like you have to stop. You have to say, okay, like this doesn't meet my criteria, and like that it was a good reminder for me personally, and I'm not thankful that it happened because like my wife watched the stream shortly after and wanted to know about what happened to her money. But other than that, it's it happening live on stream is just like a
Good
reminder that
content.
this can cap. Yeah, great content, right?
Great content.
There's already like someone sent out it's not a real meme, but they sent out like a picture of me looking down sad, like when you realize you've been rugged. And I was like, man,
I
like
love it.
if we
I
had the
love it.
rights to "Hello, Darkness, my old friend," like
Oh, that's
my
awesome.
response would have been awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. The ultimate irony of this is MetaMask just recently, like within the last couple days, released updates to try to make the transactions easier to understand, probably for this exact reason.
Well,
It's
at
still
100% for this reason, but they did it. So they did it real quick. Sorry, Mike, to cut you off. Is they did it like because like my wallet wasn't drained, right? This is actually like post that, I think, where it's like, hey, look, like instead of trying to drain the wallet, let's see how many people we can extract ETH from like
Yeah.
from FOMO. And like, here's the thing, like if you drain a wallet, it draws a lot more scrutiny. But like I was like, oh man, I lost 0.6 and I went on with my day. Like if we were to go look at that contract, we should have, now I'm going to go back and look at that contract. Like how many more people fell for that? And
Quite a
like
few.
SIN transactions a lot different than the, and this is where you're an expert, is like the details to actually have access to the wallet and interact with it and drain it like OpenSea does.
Yeah. So in this case, it was just a pure transfer. So when you clicked on the target, it wasn't a contract. It was a just a plain wallet. So that's kind of your first giveaway in this case. But most people, like I typically will verify a contract on a mint site prior to doing the transaction. So this could really easily get a lot of people, because I doubt a lot of people confirm that the contract in MetaMask matches the contract that they think they're going to.
Dude, 99% do not.
Right. So it's a pretty effective vector. I think when I looked this morning on Etherscan on that wallet, it had like 15 ETH. So it wasn't like a huge number of people who fell for it. But if it's 0.2 each, then that's like, 75 people. So
or Malachi trying to get 3. Greedy.
Well, 75 Nifty's worth.
Right.
So it could have been like, 40 or 50 people.
I'll buy 3. The guy in the chat's like, well, I'll pay you 100% over your price.
That was the one that when that guy said
like,
that
what?
to me, I was like, wait,
hold on.
That should have been the red flag.
It looks suspect. I had already done it though. Like I'd already committed.
Oh yeah, you had already transferred.
But I mean, like the social engineering is real, right? Like if I'm a Hypebeast fan, if like the social vectors, like when we think about spearfishing and everything else, like we're in this is what sucks about being doxxed is we have more attack vectors than other people do, and like that's part of the risk. So we do the best we can, and it's imperfect, but we just want to make great content for you.
It was worth it.
It'll take a while for the ad revenue to pay back that 0.6 ETH, but
Haley's Comet will be flying around before we get the ad revenue back.
That's awesome. What else is hot? What's going on?
The market tanking is Serena Williams.
I saw that
with her GM today. That's pretty awesome. Shout out to Ferguson cool. If he's watching for reminding me.
I loved it. I liked it.
I love it.
Yeah, the offers. We always used to talk about how that 3,000 to 3,500 ETH price was kind of a sweet spot for the market, though. So even though ETH is tanking, a lot of my Nifties have higher offers than they did, a few days ago. Like my World of Women was up like at 2.5, which I thought that's the highest it's ever been by a long shot. I'd never gotten an offer over 2 for it. So I think we're going back into that Nifty sweet spot. So I assume that's going to further catapult this current like Nifty rush, which it's like a weird feedback loop. You have sudden huge Nifty demand, and then next thing you know, the transactions are going crazy with Nifties. That drives up gas prices and usage, which then trickles back to Ethereum.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like
price go back up.
The short-term hit right now is that like when people freak out about Ethereum, like the altcoins go crazy, right? So then there's like massive congestion. So like it's weird because you can tell with NFTs, like for instance, like with the Nounpunks and everything else, like if you're buying this like super speculative NFT, if another NFT, if the market's moving on that and there's excitement, all of a sudden another project drops, it kills that project until gas stops, which like for a lot of these super speculative projects can like kill it forever. And then you start thinking about, okay, if ETH is starting to fluctuate heavily, then like right now gas is 176 for Rapid. But the issue there is like a lot of now we're not looking at just NFT traffic. There's a lot of altcoin traffic because everyone's scared because ETH is dropping. So now we have this thing where no one can transact NFTs because it's expensive. Everyone's dumping their altcoins, trying to get back into ETH as quickly as possible.
Mhm.
So when we have this like downward momentum on Ethereum, it hurts those prices. Once everyone gets out of those altcoins, then we stabilize a little bit, and then our offers start flying, right? Because we like to pretend that ETH and fiat and everything else. And Mike, you made a really good point. I want you to talk about that in a minute. But what's interesting is like people in their minds like have like what's the cost of the ape versus what's the fiat versus Ethereum. So like now we have the potential that after this calms down, we really could see if we sit in this 3,500 range. We talked 25, 35, and that was the standard for a long time. For whatever reason, the last like 3 weeks, people got really, maybe a month, got comfortable in ETH in that higher range, still transacting, paying higher gas fees, and it felt like the new normal for a little bit. And then we had 4 days of awesome craziness, and now with the what's really interesting, and this is a setup for you, Mike, is that like the Fed making the announcement about like possibly increasing the interest rates killed the market. But we always thought for the last 10 years, since Rob was preaching in the early days, maybe longer, about the market and the crypto market weren't aligned, right? So hypothetically, if the market's doing poorly, people would be shifting dollars into crypto, and we're not seeing that today. So, Mike, you want to go into your text a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, one key, just throwing out a couple of observations, like everybody knew the Fed was going to raise rates. The reason why it tanked today is because they panickedly decided that the previous calendar schedule for raising rates was going to be too late in the future. So they pulled in the dates where they're going to raise rates. So that was an unexpected thing. So I expect the next inflation numbers are going to be even worse than they've been. This is like an early preview of that. Now, the thing about crypto, which is interesting, and I've been hearing a lot of, so I'm going to be all over the place because I've been a news junkie the last couple of days because I've been off. But some
Bring it
really
to us, Mike. Preach it.
Yeah, so some really interesting details that have been popping up on my radar. One thing is layer 2 is going to be the battle for the next prominence premier crypto is going to be who has the best layer 2, I think. So you know, everybody is kind of coming to this consensus that you can't have a decentralized layer 1 that has good transaction rates. So I think I personally believe the consensus is going to be around whatever coin has the most secure layer 1 and then the best throughput on layer 2 is going to be the coin that's going to be dominant. So Ethereum and Bitcoin, I think, you could make a case that Bitcoin is more secure than Ethereum, but it's the window, the difference is there getting closer and closer and closer. So it's the competition is going to be on layer 2. So that's what I'm going to try to figure out over the next couple of weeks is what's the best layer 2.
Stacks, right?
Yeah, I mean, Stacks is going to be a credible competitor to Polygon, Avalanche, Arbitrum, all these Ethereum layer 2s. Where does that leave stuff like Solana? I don't know. Everybody's saying that you can't have layer 1 with high transaction and decentralization. So I don't know how Solana is going to fit into the long-term picture. Okay, so that's one thing I've been hearing.
Can I ask you, like, just, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but like when you do think about the fact that like Polygon was down today, you do think about that, like Avalanche and Immutable
Sorry,
X.
Immutable X. Yeah, I didn't mean to leave Immutable X off, but that's definitely on my radar too. But keep going.
No, I just want to make, like, I think we should do, like, let's keep the daily content focused on this, but let's do a deep dive on this like later this week where we spend an hour going into the nuance. Keep going on the other aspects.
So the other thing is one thing that people have kind of started to shift their perception of is you have asset classes, right? And people kind of see crypto as an asset class. And when people think of crypto, they think of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and whatever altcoins. you really should be thinking of Nifties as Nifties themselves also as an asset class. So something like a Bored Ape or a CryptoPunk or, lesser stuff like a Mutant Ape or the Cool Cats or whatever. Those are really, if you think about trying to diversify your portfolio, those have the same merits as Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever. So I think I think that's part of what this run up in December was about, is people were realizing that Nifties were a legitimate asset class to store money in. And that's kind of what's caused this pop. I'm not sure how that translates to this particular crash, other than that there's typically been a correlation between interest rates and tech stocks, like an inverse correlation. So if interest rates go up, then your growth stocks kind of die off, and tech stocks are kind of the growth. They're kind of the main growth area of stocks. Crypto and Nifties kind of fall into that. So also Nifties should fall into that, but because of that weird Ethereum sweet spot of 3,500 to 2,500, it's causing this weird thing where Nifties are either lagging it. I'm trying to decide, are they lagging? And like, this is a local high where, I should sell my World of Women for 2.5, or it's that people are realizing that Nifties are comparable to holding Ethereum or Bitcoin, or possibly better than holding Ethereum or Bitcoin. And so it's going to, continue to just climb from here. It's maybe even safer than Ethereum or Bitcoin.
My 2 cents are that, and Rob probably knows that, Rob is an art connoisseur more than the rest of us. But like, when you think about like the core projects, I think what we're going to start seeing is more consolidation. Is like, we're going to be abandoning the projects. Rob and I talked about it this morning, right? So when you see like the Bored Ape Yacht Club heading into this trajectory, people that can't afford that start saying like, okay, well, what's a high quality project below that I can get into? And then that starts elevating that. And like, it's a cycle that continues and continues, and there's pumping and everything else, manipulation. But then like 99% of these are going to nothing. So I think like when the volatility increases, the support, like, think about it. You're in 100 discords, right? And if you're in 100 discords, like, how many communities are you actively involved in? I'm involved in like
no more than 5.
No more. It goes back to like the tribal instinct, like find your
Yep.
tribe. Like, you can't have meaningful relationships with more than like 125 people, and like meaningful being like any
What's
substance.
that number? That there's that number of people.
I think it's
Rob,
like
you talked about this before.
Of monkeys?
No, it's like the number of people that you can be in a community with.
Yeah.
Like,
It was a study with monkeys that they did, and they put one more
Okay.
monkey. They figured out one more monkey until they got to crazy chaos.
Yeah. So
Joe Rogan talks about it all the time too.
So when you think about that and everything else, like the number of NFTs we collect, like, you have to say like, okay, like, so this is this is my big mantra for 2022 is like fewer PFPs, more one-of-one art. Right.
Okay.
Like, because like a one-of-one art, like, inherently, like, if you know it's a great artist and they have a healthy floor and they're going to be around for a long time, and you know that they have a community and a following, the odds of that failing are pretty low, right? Even if it lost half its value, it's still better than it losing 100% of its value, where there's just so much uncertainty. So like, I think like we're just at this inflection point now where we're back into the volatility. Like, we had the 4 best days combined of the NFT bull cycle since the start of NFTs. So what does that mean? For me, it means, more caution, more scrutiny, more focus on like the high quality art.
Any selling anything? Planning on more selling?
And it's so hard to sell.
I know,
I just
right?
like my stuff too much.
Me too.
I'm like, oh, it's worth so much. I wish I could cash in something. So it's basically worth 0 because I'm never going to cash it in. That is one benefit of Ethereum.
Oh,
Well, fellas,
we need to get you that button.
did I already miss the rug conversation?
No, we can have it again. That's the best part.
Talk about me getting rushed for 0.6 all day.
John, I knew you were gonna love it when I texted you.
Dude, listen. I was first of all, I was devastated when I saw it. Like,
It's fine.
and honestly, I was watching and I thought you guys had staged it. And I was like, this can't actually be happening. But as I was watching, like I could see the pain on Malachi's eyes. And I was like, oh shit, it's real. This actually happened. And I'm like, I was torn. I was like, this is great freaking content. But then I'm like, oh, poor Malachi. Like,
I've had a good year. I'm blessed.
yeah.
Yes.
I've been able to flip, and here's the other thing is like I've been lucky. Like I reach a point where I have a number. Like when I buy an NFT, I have like the hypothetical number. I say like, am I going to own this forever? Yes or no?
Mhm.
And then if I don't have that, like if I don't have that conviction, I put a number in my head and I say like, I'm going to sell it once it reaches this number. And then I start watching the market. And if the market keeps lifting that number higher, then I'll ride it for a little bit longer. But until then, I'll sell. Like the Mike Tyson piece, I'm so lucky that like I bought it for 0.6 and it was like a forever piece. But then in my head, I was like, you know what? Like if it reaches, 10 ETH, like maybe I sell it. And I sold it for 14. So like I got lucky. I got out. The grifter behind me, I was like, you know what? X copy. I have another X copy. Maybe I sell it. Someone convinced me to delist it. Now it's higher. And so that's the thing is like put a number in your head and you're fine. So like, yeah, like 0.6 ETH sucks. It's like the worst feeling in the whole world to just be like, hey, I got rugged. And you're on stream, you're live.
Mhm.
And you're simultaneously worried, like, what other access did I give to the rest of my wallet?
Mhm.
Luckily, I have a hardware wallet. Some of my most important pieces are not easily stolen, but there's a substantial amount of my collection that could have been taken. And that's fixed after the fact now.
Mhm.
But then you worry about like the people that are watching, like, hey, were they listening? And like, did they Google this too? Like all these things. And so you're so afraid for like everything that's going on. So like the fear that I felt was like the worst. Because like I'm a confident trader. Like I know like 0.6 sucks. And like I would very, very, very much like to have not made that mistake. But I'm glad that I made that mistake if it's a reminder to others to not make the same mistake I did. But it's still a shitty feeling.
Yeah. Now, this is one thing I've always had a question about. And Mike, I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can answer it. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I'm fairly confident, but I could be wrong, that you have to give permission per token. If you give like approval for it to like for them to do things on their own volition, it's a per token basis. So like if you did it for, let's say like an ERC20, then if you have any ERC20s in your wallet, they could potentially drain that particular token, only that particular token. But with NFTs, I'm not really sure if it works. If it's only, it can only, take one. It's the same. So it's like,
and that's the vector that some people have been scammed on is like if you are in the early days of apes, you flipped a bunch of apes, and so you left that approval open, and then you eventually bought the ape you wanted. That's allegedly a vector. I haven't seen the exact exploit code in order to hack that, but that's why. And I'm going to say a site, but I want people to be very careful with this site. I think it's a legit site as far as I can tell, but there's a site called revoke.cash. Is that right, Malachi? Okay,
Yeah.
revoke.cash. What it does is it will send the remove approval for all transactions to each contract that you've traded, like on OpenSea, for example. It's probably not worth it to do it on Nifties that are worth less than an ETH. But if you own Nifties that are worth more than an ETH and you've traded them in the past, then you should definitely revoke those set approval for alls for all of those Nifties.
Real quick, like if like every time you have to pay a contract fee to interact with it, which at any given time is $20 to $100. Like if the next time you want to do something with that NFT, $20 to $100 matters, then like keep it listed. It doesn't.
Yeah.
If $20 to $100 doesn't matter, meaning it's so valuable that you're like,
if it's an ape, then it's nothing.
Yeah, like don't look back. Revoke access immediately.
Yeah, and you can do the same. You can achieve the same function as revoke.cash. If you go directly to the contract on Etherscan, you can call the functions directly. It's just less convenient. As
Will
far
you
as
do
I
a
can,
video on that for everybody? For people that don't trust revoke.cash, I think that'd be a great video.
oh yeah, yeah, no, it is a good one. We should do that. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I'll try to do that in the next couple days. But as far as I can tell, and again, this isn't an official audit or an official proclamation. This is just helpful advice. As far as I can tell, revoke.cash is legitimate in what they're doing. So, but it's still be careful with, any site you use that's not necessarily super well known who built it.
Mal,
John, how are you feeling about that ETH crash going on?
Yeah, John, what's up, bro?
man, I don't know. I don't.
You wanted to focus on me. I thought
No.
we'd focus on you for
Hey,
a minute.
but let me ask
No,
John
it's
though.
just-
Let me
it's the
throw this
same
at
thing.
John.
It's
John, let me
over
throw
and
the question.
over. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Okay. So before you got on, we were talking about, I brought up the hypothesis that the next battle of cryptocurrencies is going to be who has the best layer 2.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Especially as it pertains to BTC versus ETH, but also BTC or ETH versus the alts like Solana or Tezos or Doge or whatever.
So my personal opinion, and I have bag bias, but I do spend a lot of time looking at this, is that Ethereum has already won. I've never been a big supporter of alt L1 smart contract platforms. I feel like they addressed the trilemma with trade-offs for short-term gain, and I think a lot of the VCs that are behind these chains. I'm not saying the technology isn't, the trade-offs don't make sense. They're pragmatic. Like you can't have a growing DeFi ecosystem if it costs $200 to make a transaction. That's just stupid, right? So, and in fact, I tell everybody that comes into the space, go check out Matic, go check out Solana, go check out Avalanche. I mean, that's what you should do. You should learn on these chains, and that's how you grow and mature in figuring out what are rugs and what aren't, and where the good developers are and who aren't the good developers. But these chains, from what I'm seeing, they were always going to be inferior to layer 2 solutions, and layer 2 blockchains they're not retail. And so a lot of people say that decentralization doesn't matter for retail. And yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, from a pragmatic standpoint, go ride those pumps on those alt L1s. But other blockchains, other applications are going to care about decentralization when costs are no longer an issue and speed's no longer an issue. Right at that point, the only thing they do care about is decentralization. And the chain with the longest history and that's most credibly neutral in decentralization is going to be the chain that wins. And there's no reason to think that the developer community is going to leave and go anywhere else when they can scale and benefit from e-security. It doesn't make logical sense to me. So I haven't seen a chain that supports layer 2s actually building out on top of them when the only thing that layer 2s really care about is decentralization and history. Like, who's the longest chain? And somebody could say potentially, Bitcoin, but Bitcoin has to change quite a bit for that to be a plausible reality. And if you remember, Bitcoin.
Shout out to Stacks.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at it, Bitcoin, they couldn't even increase the block limit, the block size. I mean, it fractured the ecosystem.
Let's do another. Let's do.
Yeah.
Let's
okay,
do.
fine. I will get into it.
I want to do it, but I want it to be. We said in the new year our daily videos were going to be 15 minutes. We're running on 30.
Oh, all right.
And I just
because we're not always together like
doubled.
this, man.
Yeah.
But we on Friday happy hour we can do a 2-hour deep dive on why Ethereum is the best network and all the others are less. Rob is
What?
still licking his wounds from.
What?
No, it was Darren. Sorry, Darren. We went camping with Darren, and Darren is just talking about when you guys ran into Ferocious in
Oh,
New York
God.
City, and you just trying to talk about my Ethereum. Bush is like, yeah, I agree, but I don't want to talk about this right now. And I feel
At 5 a.m.
There is an Avex maxi, man. It wasn't even like that. The Ferocious was like, yeah, Ethereum. That's where
I
it's
love.
at.
Hey, for everyone that's watching, I love Tezos.
Yeah.
I buy Tezos NFTs all the time because it makes me feel like 888. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We've been going twice as long as we should have. I've got burgers that are burnt.
Oh
We
my
do-
gosh.
We're
Wait,
trying to
they're
do.
on the grill?
Dude.
You know, we got to make great content. We got to talk about my rug.
Hey,
And-
That's true.
now let's sign off with this final thought. And here's the good news: whoever stole that 0.6 ETH from you thought he was getting like, what is that, like
$4,000?
Yeah, I thought he was getting like $2,500, and now he's getting like 17. So he got
Oh,
right
yeah,
too,
yeah.
bro. Don't worry.
Sucker.
Sucker.
we're gonna use as much as we can to figure this out. But I do have to say I love y'all. It's fun. Rob and I'll be back tomorrow
morning.
Mhm.
We'll be talking about the greatest and the latest. Mike might sneak in a video. We don't know.
Who knows?
And then we're gonna keep the long form content coming. Friday evening, NFT Culture Happy Hours coming back at you. Hope everyone loves this new style that we're going for. Appreciate everyone. Follow us on Discord. Our NFT Culture token is cheap. We added some new bots. Make sure you like and subscribe. It does a lot for the algorithm. And we'll see y'all soon. Take care, everybody.
Adios.
See you guys.